President-elect Donald Trump is assembling his administration and in the last 24 hours has announced some of his picks for cabinet positions, some of whom have made some shocking statements on Israel. The question is, who are these people and what does their appointment in the US government mean for Israel? Buckle up, Israel and America. This is going to be a wild ride. I'm Josiah Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Thanks for tuning in today. Guys, we have a lot to talk about. A lot of news has happened in the last week in America, in Israel, specifically talking about America in the new, with the elections last week and the new administration coming to take office in January. President Donald Trump is assembling his administration, and he's starting to announce some of his top cabinet member picks for his top cabinet members. So far, a lot of his picks are looking very, very pro-Israel. People that have a very strong pro-Israel stance, and a lot of people that have a very that are strong believers as well, have a very strong faith stance. We're going to talk about a few of those picks and what they could mean for Israel. How pro-Israel are they? And what they have done and said about Israel in the past. The first I want to talk about is announcement just came out yesterday. The new U.S. ambassador to Israel is, drumroll, Mike Huckabee. Yes, Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Arkansas and ran twice for president in 2008 and 2016. Mike Huckabee has been a strong supporter of Israel for many, many years. Now, Mike Huckabee made his first trip to Israel back in 1973. 50 years ago, and has been back many, many times since. He was interviewed by Israeli radio soon after the announcement of his appointment as U.S. ambassador. Huckabee said, quote, "I visited Israel in 1973, almost 53 years ago. Since then, I've made dozens of trips to the country. I've taken tens of thousands of Americans to visit Israel, and it has been an amazing honor," end quote. So this is very, very good news. Somebody like Mike Huckabee, we know for sure that he is a true friend of Israel. Not only that, but he's a strong believer and believes in the biblical values that Israel stands on, and that many of the areas that are currently in danger are biblical sites. And to know that Mike Huckabee will stand strong in supporting Israel, holding on to those pieces of land and not giving in to concessions to those who would destroy these places in Israel. Not only is Mike Huckabee just a great friend of Israel in general, but Mike Huckabee also understands what is happening here in Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of Israel. Now, Mike Huckabee visits Judea and Samaria often, and he's met with many Israeli leaders of the area, and is also very good friends with the governor of Samaria, Yossi Dagan, who called to congratulate him soon after his appointment. Yossi Dagan said on the appointment of the new U.S. ambassador, Mike Huckabee, he said, quote, "I congratulate my friend Mike Huckabee, a true partner of the state of Israel and the Jewish people, on the occasion of his important appointment as U.S. ambassador to Israel. The U.S. won and the state of Israel won together with it. Mike Huckabee is a true leader, a smart person, and a great fan of the people of Israel, and thereby a great partner of the Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria." Now, the governor of Samaria, Yossi Dagan, in his statement, went on to make a very interesting point, and I want to read that here. He said, quote, "President-elect Donald Trump is appointing wonderful people who understand the clear situation in the world after October 7th. We will work together hand in hand for the security of the state of Israel and the United States and towards strengthening relations between the two countries. We will work together to fix the world after the Holocaust of October 7th. We are here to win together." And I think Yossi Dagan made a very interesting point here when he's talking about these picks that Donald Trump is appointing to office, and that people who very much have a common sense approach realize what happened on October 7th. I'm talking specifically in regard to the state of Israel. These people are going to be, I think, amazing for the country of the United States as well, and doing great things in America. But I'm specifically referring to their relationship with Israel and the U.S.'s relationship with Israel. But appointing people who understand what happened on October 7th, understand how the world shifted, understand how the battle here in Israel for the land of Israel actually shifted on October 7th, and what the response should be for that moving forward. For many, many years, the pro-Israel, the mainstream pro-Israel American stance has been, yes, we support the Israeli government, we support Israel, we support the right there to defend themselves, and that's about it. There hasn't been so much support for, yes, Israel should be sovereign in its own land. Israel should be able to declare sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland of Israel, where most of the Bible was written, these biblical sites. Israel should be able to have that and not give that away to a terrorist state. That hasn't been so much the vocal outpouring of the pro-Israel support from the Christian world, and specifically the Christian world in America. But it seems like with some of these picks that Donald Trump is putting in office now, these people have a very much, they see the world for how it is. They see what happened on October 7th for how it is, not through the skewed media lens of, oh, these people were oppressed, so that's why they went out and murdered and raped people and tortured people on October 7th. That's not the reality. They can see it with a very much common sense approach, and that's definitely Mike Huckabee in this case, and some of these other people that we're going to talk about in just a second. One other thing Mike Huckabee said that I think is very important too is he told Israeli radio in that same interview, he said, quote, "I have been a frequent visitor to Judea and Samaria, and I believe there is a chance of applying Israeli sovereignty to the region. I also very much believe that the people of Israel deserve a secure and safe country, and I will do anything I can to help and accommodate this goal. Of course, I will not be the one to make the policy, but I will carry out the president's policy. But there has never been a U.S. president who has been more helpful in ensuring the sovereignty of Israel. No one has done more for Israel, including the recognition of the Golan Heights, than President Trump." End quote. So obviously, Mike Huckabee is very much in favor of Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. But as he said, he's not the main policymaker. He can help apply the policy, and he can help direct the president's views on the issue. But this is a great call to the Christian world in America, those who really stand with the land of Israel, and those who see Israel for how it is and the conflict here for how it is. Now is the chance to really make our voices heard in broadcasting that pro-Israel, pro-Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria voice, so that the government leaders, these people who are very much for it, but need the voice of the people behind them to actually be able to support Israel to make that move. It's very, very important. We'll be right back to the show in just 1 second. But first, on October 7th, 2023, Israel faced its darkest day since the Holocaust. Terror rained down from the skies, infiltrating peaceful communities, and ordinary people were thrust into extraordinary circumstances. Into the Fire is the gripping account of this unimaginable crisis. It takes you from the blood-soaked grounds of the Nova Festival to the besieged kibbutzes of southern Israel, and deep into the unwavering faith of average Israelis, people who found themselves on the front line of heroism. You'll find the first responders who ran into danger without hesitation, the survivors who embodied unimaginable resilience, and the everyday citizens who became heroes in the face of terror. But this book is more than just a retelling of events. It's an exploration of the human spirit's incredible capacity for courage, compassion, and selflessness. It challenges you. What would you do if faced with such darkness? How can we cultivate bravery and kindness in our daily lives? Order Into the Fire today in the link below and discover the stories of those who chose to be the light in the face of pure evil. Discover the power of human resilience and the hand of God in each story. To order your copy, click the link in the description below. Another appointment that Trump just announced is the Secretary of Defense, and he nominated Pete Hegseth for that position from the Fox News host, Pete Hegseth. In Trump's announcement of the Secretary of Defense, the position being ready to be filled, he said, quote, "I am honored to announce that I have nominated Pete Hegseth to serve in my cabinet as the Secretary of Defense. Pete has spent his entire life as a warrior for the troops and for the country. Pete is tough, smart, and a true believer in America first. With Pete at the helm, America's enemies are on notice. Our military will be great again, and America will never back down. Pete is a graduate of Princeton University, has a graduate degree from Harvard University. He is an Army combat veteran who did tours in Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, and Afghanistan. For his actions on the battlefield, he was decorated with 2 Bronze Stars, as well as a Combat Infantry's badge. Pete has been a host at Fox News for 8 years, where he used that platform to fight for our military and veterans. All in all, seems like a very, very great guy, but he's also a very true friend of Israel. Pete Hegseth has visited Israel many, many times and is a strong supporter of the state of Israel. Several years ago, when talking about an accusation of dual loyalty, he said this. Take a watch.
Zionism and Americanism are the front lines of Western civilization and freedom in our world today.
Very, very strong statement in support of Israel, and also in support of the idea that you can be a patriotic American and also a strong supporter of Israel, because the two countries' values align so well, and they are both on the front lines, as Pete said, of Western civilization and freedom in our world today. In a news interview with the Jewish press in 2016, he said this about visiting historic and biblical sites in the land of Israel. Quote, "This is not some mystic land that can be dismissed. It's the story of God's chosen people. That story did not end in 1776 or in 1948 or in the founding of the UN. All of these things still resonate and matter today." End quote. Pete Hegseth not only is a strong supporter of Israel, has visited many biblical sites here in Israel, he's also visited Judea and Samaria, including going down to Joseph's tomb in the middle of Shechem with the governor of Samaria, Yossi Dagan, and also he's visited Hebron in Judea, along with several other places. So very pro-Israel Secretary of Defense nominee there. Now, the last one I want to talk about is, it's almost for sure, hasn't yet been announced by President Trump, but according to the New York Times, Trump is just about to settle who will be the next Secretary of State, and that seems to be, ladies and gentlemen, Marco Rubio, Senator Marco Rubio. He's currently serving his third term as senator from Florida, and he also ran for the highest office in the U.S. in 2016 and has been a very loud voice for hardline foreign policy for countries like China, Iran, and Cuba. Rubio is a strong supporter of Israel. Actually, it's interesting, while he was running for president in 2016, Marco Rubio actually slammed Donald Trump for his neutrality on the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Rubio saying that you should be much more much more on Israel's side versus the Palestinian side of the conflict. Several months ago, but after the October 7th attack, this video was posted on X of Senator Marco Rubio. Watch this.
Senator Rubio, will you call for a ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Rubio,
Are you filming it?
Wait,
So I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that, because
and
that's
what
my
about the
position.
civilians
I
that are
blame
being
Hamas.
killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you
underneath
don't
civilians.
care that 15,000
Absolutely, I
have
do.
died? You don't care about the babies that are
I
being
care.
killed
I think it's
every day?
horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
So he obviously has a very common sense view on Israel's war with Hamas, a very common sense view on what happened on October 7th, who Hamas actually is, and the situation on the ground. The lady was saying, what about the 15,000 Palestinian children and women or the civilians who have died? He said, yeah, it's terrible, but it's Hamas's fault. Yes, a very common sense. Anybody with half a brain could see that, excuse me, happening in Gaza and in the war since Hamas's vicious attack over a year ago on October 7th. Guys, let's not forget, this war has been going on for 13 months, and Israel is still not done with eradicating the terrorist organization of Hamas from the Gaza Strip, and let's continue to pray for their success there. Guys, if these picks are confirmed in office, then it will mean much more support for Israel in their fight for survival and for the benefit of America as well. These kinds of people in office, I believe, will mean much more security for the United States of America and much more security and prosperity for Israel and much of the free world. But I have a disclaimer. Even if all these people do actually get confirmed in office, our job as pro-Israel Christians is not over. It's not done. Now, more than ever, we have the opportunity and we have the chance to make our voice heard in America. Now, Donald Trump, I think, has no motivation in and of himself to support Israel to declare sovereignty in Judea and Samaria unless we as the American people, as the pro-Israel Christian voice in America, make a case for as to why it benefits Israel and why it benefits America, which it absolutely does. But now is not the time to sit back and say, oh, good, we have a pro-Israel president in the White House, we're going to be good. No, now is the time to push our support, unwavering, unilateral support for Israel as the American people, knowing that it will also benefit America, and it would also benefit the state of Israel and the Jewish people, God's chosen people, the people of the book. Now, many people just sit back and watch when their favorite candidate gets in office, but now is the time to lobby to your representatives, whether they are pro-Israel or not, to do what is best for the nation and state and people of Israel, to give Israel full support to win this war with Hamas, full support to win this war with Hezbollah, to protect themselves from the evil regime of Iran, and also to give full support for Israel to declare sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, Israel's biblical heartland. Guys, please continue to pray for the state of Israel. Make sure to subscribe and let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, stop listening to the lies and propagandas and connect with the truth of what is happening in Israel. We'll be back soon here at the Israel Guys.